our social media platforms from the weekend up to date are flooded with people having conversations on whether prom parties are something we need to have, but also the effect or the effect it has on the mental health of the students. So joining me to discuss this very controversial but yet a conversation embedded with a lot of connotations is a panel of distinguished ladies and gentlemen who will help us discuss the implications of the increasing luxurious parties, in brackets or called prom parties, on the mental health of students. So just quickly, as by way of introduction, I'll go ahead and let my panelists say hello and introduce themselves, then we can straight away get into the nitty-gritties of the conversation. So I'll begin from my extreme left, the gentleman in a very neat suit, to say hello, introduce himself, and then we come back to my to my immediate right here. Gentleman, you most welcome.
Thank you so much, Drake. Raymond Kalungi is my name. A former student leader. I'll be graduating in July from UCU Law School. I think that is enough.
You're most welcome. You're yet to enter into the job market.
Thank you, sir.
Interesting.
Greetings to the audience. My name is Bridget Bagonza, a law student at UCU, and a mental health champion and advocate with Mental Health Uganda.
Very happy to have you. I think it's important that you give us that perspective of mental health, since
Yes,
you're a mental health champion.
Yes.
Very happy to have you here. Prime Minister of the National Parliament.
Greetings, everyone. My name is Jotham Alinaitwe, a climate activist. Yes, a mentor and a fellow at Future Elect Public Leadership Academy in East Africa. Happy to be here with you.
You make the introduction with a vibrant smile. I think that's the energy we need for the show.
Yeah.
And definitely as we progress, I think that is what we're going to do. So let me just start again with Kalungi. Over the weekend and post the weekend, the internet has been breaking with conversations relating to the student who ushered in her prom date with himself, and I think the parents were inside the chopper in a helicopter. And people have been making numerous comments from what this means for our country, alluding it to very many intricacies, which I think we shall delve into this conversation.
Yes.
I just wanted to put or give us perspective on the pressure this has on students, but also the cost factor that it has on parents.
Thank you so much. Now, if we are to talk about prom, it is best we do not start with the events that have happened these few weekends ago. So prom parties are events that were copied from the USA and UK and those other countries that were majorly parties of, let me say, showing off. Prom in and of itself is a show business. Students have been doing these events to show off, majorly to celebrate completion of a level of school, and earlier on they were called leavers party. When you talk to your parents, they will tell you that when we finished exams, we'd go to the beach and we organize a party or something like that. So as time goes on, prom parties have turned luxurious. If you're to look at the social media of countries like South Africa and USA, you'll be more shocked. You see cars that are worth $1 million, among other things. So prom in and of itself becomes a luxurious event. Now, the problem is, when you look at it on the cost or its cost to parents. Now, every different school, we have to agree that we have class stratification among schools. So we'll have schools like Mbara High School, Ntare School, Elite High School, St. Lawrence Academy schools and colleges, among other schools, being the top tier schools. Then you have some schools, for example, that you see is schools, which have prom parties that are not even aired on the televisions. So the prom business has become so prominent that we have TV stations dedicate programs entirely for proms. I think every Saturday, if you go to NTV, you watch a prom there. If you go to NBS, you will have a prom there. They find a way of naming it. So that then becomes a business. Now, if you look at it on the impact it has to parents, most of these parents in these schools can afford these proms. Because if you look at the prom, if you look, these students are always in the same category and in the same class. When I was still a student, I think 5 years ago, in 2019, we had a prom. And on this prom, we had an organizing committee. This organizing committee determines the price people will pay for the prom. Now, after determining the price, this organizing committee will then determine what the money will be used for. In our time, we raised about 60 million. Then the organization committee determined that 20 will be used for decoration, this will be used for this. Now, where the problem comes in is the cars and the luxury. They determined that 10 was to be used for the cars of the cabinet members. So now, however, all this money does not come from a single parent. Every student contributed 50,000, and the members on the cabinet, the list contributed 200. So you look at it in a way that it is not as luxurious as it looks. Now, if you have to look at the students that came in with a chopper, it's not so good to rebuke the student, and it is also not so good to rebuke the parent. If you look at the cost of the chopper, it was $1,200. That is about 4 million or something.
Kalungi, I see the point that you're trying to raise. $1,200. You have
Yes.
a population of 41% Ugandans who are poor people,
Yes.
who barely afford a meal in a day.
Yes.
Seeing you hiring a chopper
Yes.
to appease your child
Yes.
and bring them in a party.
Yes.
How will that ordinary Ugandan relate with you, and yet they're complaining that the alleged parent says is a desert, because they were saying that is how some parents allege, but yet they're actually using taxpayers' money. So how would you speak to that Ugandan who doesn't see that money that you're talking about as small?
Thank you so much. Now, if you're to look at, I think we should have this honest conversation, point blank as it is. We operate in a capitalist economy where we are all not equal. Even if we would wish to all be equal, we are all not equal. If you go to Chikubo now, you find an individual that earns 200 million per day selling what? T-shirts. If you go to...
200 million quite an enormous price that it's not possible.
No, it is not enormous. When we're having our banking lectures, I think in 2023, our banking lecturer told us that when you operate in the banking sector, especially in Kampala, you can get shocked. You find that people can borrow 2 billion shillings without security or even without depositing anything with trust, because every day they are depositing 200 million.
Right. So as you wrap up on your argument.
Yeah, as I wrap up on that argument, first and foremost, it is not proved that that parent to that child is a government official. And therefore, if the parent is not a government official, they are not subject to government auditing or to even public scrutiny, because it's their individual money, since we operate in a capitalistic economy.
All right. Bagonza,
Yes, please.
mental health perspective. Kalungi gives us set space on giving us a background on what these properties are and what they actually mean. From his submission, these parties were one as a nature of trying to bring the students together to celebrate a milestone of completing a particular level. But besides celebrating the milestone, to date it has been alluded with luxurious spend. Now, I would like to bring the perspective of students who possibly cannot afford, and the pressure it has on them, and the mental health issues that is alluded to that, but also the preparation process, the questions that will be running in their heads: I cannot afford this, I cannot go for this. They feel left out of society. So give us that mental health picture.
The mental health picture actually is not for the students alone. It does affect the parents as well. To be able to have your child in a certain environment and not to be able to afford and cater for them to fit into that environment affects both parents and students. Though it looks different for everyone. Now, personally speaking, I went to an all-girls Catholic school. And you would realize that, yes, there are some of you that come in, your parents can afford to bring you in. There are those that come in because they performed well somewhere, they have a scholarship. There are those that are coming in because they are good at something, they have a scholarship. But when you look back home, not all of you can afford the same lifestyle that the school would like sort of paints. So now when you put all of you in the same environment, now let's say, for especially like the girls, they are going to talk about this from the beginning of the term. I'm going to wear a dress from, let's say, Has Uganda. I'm going to wear something that is coming from there. My mom is doing this thing for me. My mom is doing this for me. And then you have somebody who's coming from maybe a lower income home calling home and is like, Mommy, we have prom. What are we doing? And Mom is like, but there is no money. You're not going to attend. That alone. Now, you don't want to tell your friends the reason why I'm not attending is because at home they can't afford. Now, that's where the lies come in. Some even go to the extent of theft. Now, when you look at it, yes, their actions are not right, but teenagers at that age, your emotions are all over the place. You are unable to think logically that, yes, this I can't afford, it's okay, it's fine. But the fact that you're a teenager, you have that sense of, I must fit in. I have to find a way to fit in. And that's where some make even mistakes. Now, for the mental health perspective, it's where you're going to see a lot of depression cases. I can't afford it. I can't push home to afford it. Where am I going to get the money? Why can't I have what they're having? Why are those kids coming in their car? For some, it even goes to resentment of why can't my parent work as hard as their parent? And you don't seem to understand it when you're the child, but that is just reality. On the parent side, there is so much that comes because even the parents themselves, trust me, the father of whoever the boy that had the chopper, there's that prestige that comes with, oh, my son had a chopper. But there's also a parent in that very same school that did not afford to pay for the prom. There has to be, or if it's maybe fees or something, and they see the parent that afforded the chopper and is like, I can't do this for my child. Still, you see the depression coming in. So it's a big thing, and it really affects both parties, the parents and the students, and there's so much anxiety that comes with it. There's so much fear around it because this is not, even affects their grades because, like I said, prom is at the end of, let's say, first term, but this is something you're talking about from like senior 5. You're already planning what I'm going to wear for prom, how I'm going to arrive in for prom. You're telling your friends about for prom. You're adding pressure on everybody. At the end of the day, someone is thinking about it and it's like, and the more you think you don't realize that the more pressure you're adding to yourself is you're neglecting what is around you. And those are the signs and symptoms of depression. You start to neglect the things around you because you're constantly thinking about that one thing which could have even been avoided.
Interesting. Prime Minister, allow me to use that. From the perspective of Bagonza and painting the picture of mental health, it has left me wondering what must be done. And the newspaper, I think, on Monday, saw the State Minister of Education, Mr. Mulingo. Allow me to read. He says that, I'm surprised to hear that these things are happening in Uganda, where many people are poor and many students are not able to even sit an exam because there is no money. I would like to see something that promotes the values of carefulness, not extravagance. Now, my question to you is, how can we create a more inclusive school how can we create an inclusive school environment whereby every student feels welcome? Because schools naturally or primarily are formed on the basis of bringing together, of bringing children from all walks of life together. And that is where strong friendships are formed, irrespective of your background, because you are on the premise that your background doesn't define you. I am here for this particular goal and I must achieve. So how can we create that inclusive environment? The schools themselves and maybe the government.
Yeah, thank you so much, Drake, on that. Apparently, other schools' prom parties, if in regards to prom parties, where they used to pay via school fees, where they attach a little fee and the school contributes towards the prom party. But surprisingly, also schools have been categorized by classes. So a child who goes to A-Light and Seta Green Campus for our Honorable Miingo, where they're paying 2 point something, or at A-Light where they're paying...
For this particular show, let's just reserve the name.
Yes, okay. For categories of schools, that means a parent can afford. And if you see, class attract class. So by the time you go to A-Light and your parent can afford, by the time you go to that school and your parent can afford that money, besides what my colleague said here, that we have people who go to scholarships, but these days scholarships are categorized that a school, if it takes you and is paying full package for you, that means it covers for you everything, regards on the other agreements you have made. So, in my opinion, towards your question, schools can organize. It can be a collective effort, because Raymond says it is a showbiz, but this is the last moment you're meeting your colleagues. Gone are the days where our parents used to tell us, for them, they used to have leavers parties, and they were organized by institutions, and things, they used to buy good dresses, they used to buy good shoes, they used to see that they have a cake, they would see that they have their small decoration using toilet papers and what, see that they make their ceremony colorful. And there is no way we can run away from prom parties or leavers parties, because they are very necessary. This is the last time we are together. Other people are going for army, other people are going to join public service, universities. So I feel like this is the last moment we can share together a meal or a dinner. Even Jesus had a Last Supper, so why not them having? But how best can we see that we shouldn't leave anyone behind? So I've seen schools, what they do, they put this on tuition, see that everyone can afford, and they have policies that govern them. But it doesn't stop someone wishing a child, his or her own child, something good. As I've told you earlier on, schools differ. A person who is at SETA, a person who is at A-Light is not the same person who is at Namukanga SS. So by the time someone chooses that school, knows the class, people at Taiba, they are talking about A-Light, but if you saw last year's Taiba's prom party, then you would blow off and you wonder. So we need to see how best we can include everyone on the agenda and not causing depression. But at the same time, the parents have already shown their students the class they are. By the time a child is at Taiba or SETA or A-Light, that means that that parent can afford what comes. And then, lastly, also parents speaking to their children, knowing your standard. By the time a child, if I have a scholarship, I'm at that school, that means I'm capable. Your parent needs to talk to you to understand your how they say, your financial status. For us who grew up we started in those low school where we had our little proms and where they were struggling and what, to see that we see that also us try to organize and have a get-together leavers party or a prom party. So parents used to speak to us that, okay, if I've not afforded that suit from Oscar Kampala, but still you can be, you can go and rock it in this. If I've afforded to pay for you this, I've not afforded to pay for you VIP, still you can go. You are not the only person. And if you realize, you are not going to be the only person in ordinary. You are going to be a number of. The cars at A-Light, there were a few. If you saw the video, not everyone came in those cars. And we had people who also were struggling to come and make a way. These are the few category class that are trying to depress colleagues. But then, as I've told you, parents, do your work. Speak to your kids that these hands are not equal and you can do it.
These teens, I assure you, they hear what you're saying. They hear you that you're telling them we're not equal. But it's not how they feel.
I got my suit on the last day of prom.
But
and how were you feeling?
I was the HP, by
how
the way.
were you feeling?
I was the HP. I got no, because I knew my because I grew up, I knew my financial status.
Yes.
So I kept on saying, you guys, if I don't make it, don't be surprised. So it goes back to the parents, how you raise up your child and telling them that, you know, when the students go back to these institutions, they forget the peers they meet. You are here with a Sudiri's child, every day upkeep is 3 million. I was at Chitovu, and I was interacting with some boy who had gone for a debate. And the guy was like, I'm really broke. To be honest, their patron told me the guy is broke, but he had 500K in the pocket. Well, I said, like, this is a little money. I've been calling dad to add me money. The dad has refused. So if you're associating with such a child, and you know your pocket money is 10,000 per whole term, then you have a problem. You know, you need to be honest. Okay, associating with them, it is not bad, but always remember your background, where you're coming from.
Right. Just one question.
Like I said, we are saying it, but it's not what's in school. Because the moment you, now me, I do interact with these teens a lot. And you hear what they have to say. And sometimes I don't want to blame them much because like I said, at that age, your emotions are all over the place. You're not thinking from the logical perspective. And yes, it goes back down to the parents, that when you constantly tell your child that this is the life I can afford. Now, the problem is many parents aren't honest with their children. The number of children that are in these schools, yes, we're going to say they can afford because the parents show they can afford, but the parents are breaking their backs to afford these schools. Some of these children are going on loans to school. You're not being honest with your child about what's going on. And yes, it's to shield you, it's to keep you, and to like not stress you as well. But that is then also causing an effect on these children, not understanding that mommy can't afford this, daddy can't afford this. But because for them, what they know is he can afford. But in actual sense, the parent is struggling to even put them through school. So many parents are not telling their children the truth.
Then they should, no, right. Then they should keep that, get loans, and afford their problems. Because they are hiding their reality. They are hiding their reality.
All right. Let's manage now the conversation. Kalungi,
Yes.
how did you reach here? We are talking about parents. Even she alludes to the fact that our parents are getting loans to sustain their children in school, among others. I think it's important that we bring this perspective to this debate. That a few years ago, education in this country was accessible, inclusive, and affordable.
Yes.
That governments such as the UPC provided education for all.
Yes.
That even if you were in Ulu, you could go to St. Joseph's College Nairobi and attain quality education as someone who is at St. Henry's College, Stovu, or Namagunga, among others. And education was affordable and everyone accessed it. You know, look at the prom parties or rivers parties. And people, the photos show that people seem to be somewhat
modest
and perfect and modest. Now, could the issue that we're discussing now could this be a ripple effect of the cost of education in this country?
Yes. Have you heard of a gentleman, a former guild president of Makerere University called Garugiso? I think Garugiso was something. Yeah. This gentleman was expelled from Makerere University and he has not yet graduated up to now in his 4th year of medical school. I think he's about 40 or in his late 30s. And the major reason for his expulsion was that there was a capitalist whose name I've forgotten. The capitalist decided that university education should be privatized. And in that time of its establishment, they called it cost sharing, where the parent pays a certain fee and also the country pays a certain fee for them. I think that is where we went wrong as the globe. Now, with this, the economists majorly argued that the governments are spending a lot of money on education. Because if you look at the budget of Makerere University right now, it is a bit high. However, then it was higher. If you look at universities currently, for example, Uganda Christian University or even Bishop Stewart University that tries to emulate Makerere University, look at the medical schools. Uganda Christian University Medical School pays 8 million. Bishop Stewart Medical School, it's about 6 million or something. When you look at Makerere, they pay about 1 point something. So you see that there is a big divide. But before, university education or even education at large was government-centered. Now, if you go to talk to your grandparents that attained education, you find out that they speak better English than the kids that are attending the current UPE or USE. So what happens when education is privatized? It is then subject to the rules of capitalism, which is money. Who has more money? Who has more what? Now, then it creates pressure on the common citizenry. No normal citizen can want to take their child in a government school because the services there and the system, if you use the metric of, okay, you know, it's not good to base on the metric of performance to know the performance, the actual output of a school. But if you consider that metric of performance you find out that you cannot find a UPE or USE school in the top 500 schools in this country because there shows a failure there. Now, the ripple effect of then privatizing education entirely, because now, then it was only university. Now, all universities are privatized. You can have one building and you have a university. You can have a small house and you have a university.
And then you determine the rules.
You determine the rules, you determine what happens. You go to certain universities where their rules and their laws are not in turn with the laws of the nation.
Right.
For example,
from that, now let's just tie it to schools. We have very many private schools
yes,
who determine the rules, who determine the principles and how to govern the institutions.
yes,
And
please.
also that comes with maybe having those so-called parties
Yes,
to appreciate the leaders of that particular class to
yes,
really progress to another level.
yes.
So does that therefore need more government intervention? Because if government has failed in its first attempt to, let's say, have a nationalized education system,
Yes.
Are these now like effects of the failure of the government that we're seeing today? Or maybe those are just small intricacies that you think are happening right now?
The failure of government was on privatizing education. That is an agreed fact. However, even in these schools, because you can't say that the State Minister of Education speech is the position of government. It may be their point of view. And you find out that when we had issues of, there is a time we had scandals where the Minister of Education and Sports wanted to probe what should be the maximum limit of fees and the like. You find out that actually the State Minister of Higher Education has schools, and their schools actually were above the minimum amount of money that people are supposed to pay. So then can we say that that minister's statement is indeed government policy? Of course not. If you are to look at this issue of prom currently, you find out, and if you're to find out which schools initiated the luxurious prom lifestyle, you find the minister's schools again coming up. Because even if you're to go and see prom 2015 and you search the minister's schools, you'll be shocked. You see limousines and the like. However, I think the government, like there we have the National Council of Higher Education, should have a National Council of Secondary Education where they establish certain rules and they say, no, you're not supposed to go extreme to this extent. You're not supposed to bring choppers. You're not supposed to, because in my school, we had a culture of prom gifting. If you have prom, you gift your prom date. That was in 2018. In 2019, our head teacher, she was called Mrs. Mutebi at London College of St. Lawrence, then dictated that there will be no gifting on prom. Now, the problem with gifting was this. There were students that could gift their prom dates guitars, another one gifts an iPhone, another one does what? Yet another one only has a necklace of 15,000 from Chikugo. So the HM was like, gifting, no. And actually, then they would not allow individuals to bring their personal cars because they would give different reasons. They would say that many students do not have permits and they want to drive, which will lead to accidents and the like. But I believe it was majorly due to that. And cars were only a preserve of cabinet, which were hired by the school. So I think there should just be like a National Council of Secondary Education that establishes certain minimum and maximum rules. Because on the onset, the entire thing exploded by privatization of education.
Perfect. Bagonza,
Yes, please.
social media and the perfect prom syndrome. That is something that I think, as Kalungi rightly put it in his introduction, we copied this culture from the Western world. We watch a lot of movies, and movies, but also media, informs a lot of our day-to-day lives in Uganda, considering that we're a very young population, and we want to emulate what we see on the media. You see someone posting a particular kind of content, you want to go and also emulate that. You see someone in a particular restaurant, you want to go and eat that same meal, but also act the same way that person acts. Now, this has also culminated into how students want to behave in schools. They watch a lot of Netflix, they watch a lot of movies, and those high school musicals where you see there's like that perfect world and perfect picture of prom, and that is what students want. Now, this has a particular effect on people's mental health. As you rightly put it in your discussion, you say that we have those students who are from backgrounds that are very humble and cannot afford. So how can we maybe fight the idea of social media and the perfect prom syndrome, but also see that children be children and live a children life?
The perfect prom syndrome. And I don't know why this discussion is centered around the students only. I want it to include the parents, because the perfect prom syndrome is the parents as well. You will meet parents who didn't have the perfect prom. Now they are projecting that onto their children. The person hiring the car, sometimes it's not even the child who asked for the car, it's the parent telling, you know what, I'm going to get you a car, I'm going to get you this, I'm going to get you this. And of course, if they're getting you the stuff, then yes, please go ahead. But at the end, at some point, it's the parents influencing the kids. And if you notice the social media discussion around it was mostly of, if a parent wants to provide for their child something, please let them go ahead. But that's where we go wrong, because sometimes when you don't accomplish something and you have a child, you want them to have what you didn't get. Now, because we're in like a changing society
Very
constantly, that it's getting out of hand. Prom, the instance of prom, just like he said, is this is your last get together. This is your last party out. This is your last. I think it would be like, sometimes, personally speaking, there are people I haven't seen past that day. Like past the last day we left school, I haven't seen them. And it's understandable, but we have to regulate it. Because if you can afford to have a life for your child, the perfect prom, you see, like there's an app called Pinterest where everything is gotten. Someone even has a vision board for their prom. It's the perfect prom, and there's a parent that can afford it. Well and good. But because we're in a society whereby we're not equal, can we have it be regulated? I'm not saying that please do not splurge on your child. I'm just saying that because we are in a society, I remember in the primary school I attended, they had a limit for the pocket money you had to have. Like, you can't go a certain amount of money. And we were happy children, honest to God.
From personal experience in my primary school, I remember when I was in primary one, the amount of money you would pay for pocket money, and you give it to the teacher who will give it to what they call the caterers, was 6,000.
And in mine, they wouldn't allow any money.
Exactly. And if you remember that system, and then the kids that would have that extra money, like the matron is giving them extra, would cause a lot of chaos in the dormitory. But the system in itself had good in it, that you were all equal. But yes, we are not equal. But because we're in schools now, if right now, after prom, you went and sat down with those children, that all of them as they were, some are very happy about their prom experience and some are very sad about it. And why are they sad about it? Because there's one I was speaking to recently, actually. She was like, because my dress wasn't nice. What makes you think your dress wasn't nice? It's not even that I didn't appreciate the dress, but it's because she had a better dress. Like, why didn't they get me that as well? There's that sense of entitlement because we are constantly giving. Now they are entitled to, I must get. You should provide, you must provide, because we have not regulated. And still, not to fault parents, but it is your fault when you constantly give and can't regulate. Sometimes getting a no is good. It's good to get a no once in a while. I want that, no, you won't have it. Now I want you to, just to draw this discussion a little, if you go to a supermarket and you find the toddlers, when they cry for something and they throw a tantrum, immediately the parent pulls it. Not even saying, no, you can have that later, and then the later they get it. But because there's that instant gratification we are constantly getting, now there's a sense of entitlement. Now it's from that entitlement that we start to see these mental health challenges arise. That entitlement of, I should have gotten that, now I didn't get it, now I am sad about it, constantly thinking about it. Now your friends are bullying you about it. She didn't have a good dress, or her heels were very bad, or this and this and that. And because we have social media, these things move so fast. So fast. You're seated maybe in your bedroom, and somebody is posting a picture saying, ha ha ha, did you see her shoes? They were second hand, something like that. And this child is seated there thinking like, I didn't get the nice shoe. I didn't get the perfect prom. And it's making them very sad. And you're hearing some even going ahead
Can I please
self-harm.
interject a little bit?
Yes.
We are, actually this discussion is a bit sad because now we are focusing on the mental health of the unfortunate. Now what about the mental health of the fortunate? When you go to social media, you see these kids that came in a chopper. Everyone is now shouting, no, the suit wasn't nice. No, the baby is ugly. No, you understand that pressure that we now create on the children that are innocent, that do not know about your noise you're making outside. Now, what will happen to the mental health of these children when they come back home and now they check their phones and the girl is seeing some 30-year-old man somewhere making funny noise? That no, there is a tweet I saw. It had, the guy shocked us twice. First with a chopper, and second with an ugly babe. Are you seeing now that now we are imposing dangerous expectations on young children that do not know about our worries? Now this young girl will go out living her life thinking that she's ugly, yet she's not. I think we should also focus on the mental health of the fortunate.
The victims of that particular
Yeah.
saga. Yeah.
There is somebody who actually was suggesting that these proms are not televised. And yes, we want to see the good things, but why are we putting them so out there, exposed with like no limit at all? Because the moment something is put out on media, it is not something you have control of after that. And much as now schools would love to use that as a marketing gimmick, but at what expense? At what expense? Because like he said, when you look at also the perspective of the fortunate and all the things that were said, so much that girl was really body shamed. It was sad. It was really sad. And the worst part, it's grown people that understand what they're saying. There's bullying in school, and then there's bullying from adults, and it's even worse. Like, personally speaking, if someone was saying to me something was said to me by an age mate, I'd be like, now, for you, what do you know? But now let it even be was somebody you look up to, and they say something. It really, really gets to a certain part of you. And yes, we need to be a little bit more careful with our words. And maybe we don't need to show off these children like that. It is, I don't know why proms are being televised. It's honestly, for what reason? For what purpose?
All right. Let me get to you, Jotham. The conversation is getting heated. And we're talking about, Bagonza was just talking about social media and the perfect prom syndrome. And I just want you to discuss how we can encourage a healthy and more realistic portrayal of prom experiences on social media, considering that you were a head prefect who had to firefight and get the suit on your hand.
It was a hassle.
Yeah, but through that you also have a story to tell. So how can we create an environment that encourages a healthy and more realistic portrayal of experiences?
For everyone, and inclusivity for everyone. So on social media, these days the pressure comes even from institutions where they are using it as a platform for marketing. Do you know how many people knew A-Light by the last few days when the whole thing trended? People wanted to know. I remember even the HM. I used to follow the head teacher on Twitter. By then he had like around 10 followers, but I think now it's clocking to 500 followers because he was trying to explain what really happened to the boy to get a chopper, where he was telling us that the father is a peasant and the boy promised 20 points. And the dad was like, it's okay, I can surprise you if you want this. And those were 4 million, 4 million. And to appease them, those are like around 3 cows being
Actually
sold.
one.
And actually, people are
Actually, one cow.
people are making things, they're exaggerating things, but in actual sense,
No, but you see,
no, either way.
you have a poor citizenry who.
But that is not a responsibility of
their
our parents.
That's not a responsibility.
That's
It's the
government
responsibility of a state.
Yes, the government responsibility to take care for those poor people. You eat indomie at Cafe Jabba's. You eat indomie at Cafe Jabba's. It doesn't mean that
The government is to blame
The government
for the one starving.
Yes, for the person starving. So let's see this thing in a reality form. For the media platforms, what do you think has been there, and it has been in form of marketing? Because if like people like Raymond have been on committees, they will ask you which media house are we using.
Yeah, actually, to highlight, it's not the school that calls the media. It is the student. Because then, in our days, it was Crystal Panda that was, we had to reserve for him 800,000. He alleged it was for his transport.
And then you pay for the media air to be aired on the television. So you realize that there are normal things that people are making them abnormal.
Yes.
In actual sense. The chopper thing was a normal thing for a person. Because
Is it normal though? Now let's get real. Let's get real. How many times are you seeing people flying around?
By the way, there are a lot of people that do not fly in the chopper because they're ignorant about the price of the chopper. They think it's like 20 million.
The Makerere graduation last year, where they had to attend a graduation here in Kampala, and they used the chopper to go to Mbarara for a function.
Yes.
People have been using these choppers for weddings. A person is in Mbarara and the reception is here.
Fair enough.
So back to the prom.
Fair enough, Jotham. You said that should be realistic.
Yes,
right?
yeah.
You have a population, 41% poor people, who actually do not have more than a meal a day. Are struggling to get a dollar. So that expectations will project to what they're seeing. So if you see someone react to someone getting a chopper, they will know it's very expensive.
But again, if we see that top, because right now, if you the most standardized reference is the news article that was published on Monday. Yeah. If you're to look at the individual that gave that opinion,
the school's promise.
Yeah, so
something just a chopper lucky.
So I think
even he felt jealousy that maybe students
that his school may not have
that the choppers, and maybe the students cannot afford that.
Unfortunately, he's not able to defend that.
Yeah, our Twitters are open.
Let's just go for a break. We'll be right back. Let's just quickly go for a break. I know the conversation is quite interesting. We'll be right back. See you in a few.
Digital rights are those human rights and legal rights that allow individuals to access, use, create, and publish digital media, or to access and use computers, other electronic devices, and telecommunication networks. Digital rights include a right to freedom of expression, information and communication through technology, a right to privacy and data protection, a right to credit for personal works, a right to universal and equal digital access, a right to identity, a right to anonymity, a right to be forgotten, and a right for protection of minors, among others. The state's digital rights are frequently violated through various unfair actions, for example, blockage of websites and social networks, theft of credentials, unauthorized use of people's data for personal gain, privacy intrusion, online censorship, arrests and intimidation of online users, internet blockages, and the proliferation of laws and regulations that undermine the potential of technology to drive social, economic, and political development worldwide. It is hence every citizen's responsibility to respect rights of other digital users and to speak out or report to the responsible parties when one's rights are violated.
Welcome back from that break. Right before we went into the break, the discussion was heated right here. We're discussing the implications of the increasing luxurious student parties, in brackets prom, on the mental health of students. And just before we left, I was with Jotham, And we're talking about, our discussion had centered around on ways how we can maybe promote, I'd asked him a question on how we can encourage a healthier and more realistic portrayal of prom experiences on social media. Let's now take the discussion on the perspective of focus on materialism and competition. Kalungi, I know you are a student of law and soon to be a graduate and a lawyer, and you have paid attention to a lot of jurisprudence, sociological schools of thought, anthropological, and all that. Now let's just focus the conversation on materialism and competition. The question is, does the emphasis on expensive outfits, elaborate decorations, extravagant venues outshadow the purpose of prom?
Thank you so much. When you look at materialism and competition, by nature, human beings are materialistic, and by nature, human beings are competitive. If you're to go back in our early days, if you look at the pre-colonial Uganda, you go to areas like Uganda, he who had more land was considered the richest. You go to Ankole, who had more cattle, was considered the richest. So it is not easy to eliminate materialism from the human mindset. Now, if you're to look at the positive side of it, by the way, there is something called the prom economy that we are ignoring. In this prom economy, we have the decorators. They earn from prom. We have people that make suits. I, for one, I have a side hustle of suits. But my most profitable moments are prom periods, because prom kids intentionally want expensive suits. You tell that kid, that suit will cost you 250,000. Then the kid is like, show me something of 800,000. So ideally, the materialism is already there. So the purpose of prom, as we earlier stated, is show business. These children want to show off. Even those that can't afford want to show off. So I think maybe the purpose of prom should be removed from show business to celebration of time. But again, even if you take it to that metric of celebrating, you still find that there are certain people that celebrate through extravagance. You find that if an individual wants to celebrate, even us the adults, the guy wants to go to the bar and he orders alcohol of 1 million. That is their mode of celebration. Then you find another individual, for them to celebrate, they'll go to a total for overnight. So that is again subjective. So I think we as the mature people, or we as the mature social media users, should let children be. Whether children want to be extravagant, let's leave them. It's okay for us to go and criticize. If you have to criticize, we say, no, you the Speaker of Parliament, you shouldn't get per diem of $5,000. That is okay. But then a child that is not wasting taxpayers' money, whose father has probably sold a cow or vanilla or potatoes or coffee, that is not part of the national money. Let us leave them be. I think we should focus on important things. Let us focus on roads. Let us focus on our taxes. We say, okay, we have paid tax. Why are you opening a railway that only ends in Namavi? Yet other countries are opening it that goes to border. Let us focus on those conversations. Let us leave children to be children. Yes.
All right. Bagonza, let's leave children to be children. At what cost? The children being left to be children, still the kids who are there who still cannot afford. So let's just quickly take the conversation to, I just want you to look at mental health and prom-related stress, as I know you earlier hinted it. So how can the pressure to participate in luxurious prom experience contribute to anxiety, depression?
But can I please interject? Why have we termed prom luxurious?
Because
What
it
is the
is.
What is the metric? What is the metric of defining extreme luxury? Because the highest metric we are using is $1,200. Let's go to tuition fees in universities, good universities. That is not even tuition for a semester for medical school at
I
UCU.
think you should maybe take the debate to that end when I get back to you.
Yeah.
But I'll just get to the mental health champion.
So when he says luxurious, I know he's looking at it in figures. Now me, I'll look at it from the social perspective. social perspective, I think you've seen how the generation now, firstly the millennials, the boomers, when they've now put out their prom experiences, and you really see it was something. It was more of the coming together. It was more about that, and less about
even
what.
In their times, there is something we are forgetting.
That
we are
eras
creating. No, we are creating a perfect world in their world. Do you want to say, even the millennials, do you want to say that everyone would afford to go to that prom of toilet paper? You find out that even in that age, people could not afford to go for the prom.
Let's maybe use better.
Okay, let's stick to the, let's stick to the Gen Zs or Gen Z, depending on how you'd like to term it. How many? We are all looking at it from the perspective of these expensive schools, and those are not that many. They are not that many. Let's be honest. When you look at the schools that afford the luxurious proms, they are not that many. But the number of schools in this country are it's quite a big number. Yeah. And how many of them are having proms to that level? Very few. Like I said, in the school I was in, no media was allowed. You'd wear your dresses. It was all girls. Wear your dresses. They take you to a certain resort, eat food, dance, get back to school, sleep. That was it. And the day was perfect. No one is going to bring a car. They are not, it's just about, but then the luxury is there. The fact is the elite prom was really luxurious. That is how it is. And how is it affecting the students? Now, for someone who does not afford that lifestyle, bring it back to now there. The one that's from a humble background. And it's not even in their schools, just in where they are. They are there on TikTok looking at people putting on suits, and you're like, if somebody, now for what this person is thinking, is this boy is probably my age mate, where like maybe let's say 17, they are having a TX on their prom, they are coming in a chopper for their prom. We are age mates. I don't get that as well. I'm not getting it. You see the pressure you're creating? Now it's, I need to get there. I need to get there. And we forget to experience life even at some point. Because we are on, I need to get to that level. I need to get to that level. If you trace back where this is coming from, the parent that didn't get it wants their child to get it. When the child gets it, they want to make sure that they outdo what their parent did. Now, you're creating a cycle of so much pressure. It's not bad. Yes. But in the world of mental health, that is where the biggest problem is. The pressure that comes with it.
I want to interject. When we talk about mental health, in regards to prom, we have been having issues of mental health in school. We have got performers in class. So, I just want, we shouldn't focus. I don't know why we are crucifying prom parties over mental health. Now people with disorder.
We are not crucifying, but that's what we are talking about today.
We should relate. This is a one-day event, and this is a person that's been in class for over years and is being guiding the position
and
from the
that
last.
one that has been failing from S1.
From S1 out to senior for so. We shouldn't crucify for a one-day event over mental health, but we do acknowledge to some extent it
but
causes,
it's not a one-day event.
It is okay for a period.
The whole year is that let's be honest, the whole year.
Why
am I saying the whole year? You people start at the beginning of the first term. You're talking about prom. Actually, Form 5. You're talking about what I'm going to wear, what I would love to wear. You have your vision, you have this and this. Prom passes. What happens after prom? What happens?
Let me tell you.
Let me tell you, what happens after prom? Everyone is still going to talk. They're still going to remind you that, hey, now you're talking, what did you wear? Because that's what they remember. Now, first of all, they are going to focus so much on the person who wore best and the person who wore worst. Then there's someone who's going to be ignored in the middle there because
there is that one they
Drake.
Yes, the one that didn't expect.
By the time prom ends, that's why in most cases, if you interact with schools that do prom in first term holiday, they have a reason why, because by the time you come for the second term, this is going to be the jazz for the whole holiday. That is around 3 weeks. So by the time you come, you're preparing for mocks.
When
Trust
they come,
me,
they start
someone is focusing on exams. By third term, someone is preparing for UNEP. But I thought that the jazz and conversations will be less. in that opinion, for a person who comes from a humble background and who was prepared for this, by the way, you're in that institution on a scholarship. Your parent cannot even afford a car to bring you to school, and you are here competing. You want a limousine to take you to prom, yet you use a taxi to come to school. So it goes back to the parents that mental health is real, but speak to your children. We won a scholarship through a category. You are best performer. You are beating them by that. Let them beat you by cars, but beat them by brains. So those are the words we should encourage. You talked about how parents pretend to
parents are lying
pretend,
to their children.
but it doesn't cost anything to tell your child the real picture of what you are going through. Parents do sit, have a round table with their children, say, you know what, last year we ate this loan from here, and I'm trying also to get a good loan for something good for you, to be in a good institution, to have good connection. But I failed to get a car for you. Even your uncles failed to give us a car. So you go rock in that shirt, beat them by brains, then we go to university.
But I think that also depends on the esteem of the person you're speaking to. Because some children receive it well. They receive it well, understand where they're coming from, and rock it. Completely rock it. And there's always that person who wears who they are so much that you even don't focus on where they're coming from. But then there are those that don't take it well. That also becomes a problem for some. Simply because now, if we were in a society, if we were in a country whereby whether you're in a public school or in a private school, you're receiving the same level of education, I do not think parents would be lying to their children, taking them to these big schools. If you knew that if I can take my child to a public school, they are still going to get the same good education, good services, why would I break my back to go to a private school when I can do this and the child is still going to be at the same level as the one that came from a private school?
What you're making is a call to that, definitely.
Yes, definitely. Because at the end of the day, why the parent is going to take a loan to make sure that their child is in that school is simply because of good education. Then they talk about the networking and all that. But if we had public schools that were at that level, schools that were at least more affordable, they are there, but for some parents, they don't seem to find it okay for them. If we had education that was at the same level, you would have everybody staying within their means. Other than having a child in a school whereby each time they are going, you're probably going on very many loans. You're paying the loans so that next term, you can get other loans to take them to school. You understand? Like I said, this prom thing that we're discussing now, it's both the student and the parent. They are both involved. Parents are not being open with their children. To some point, you can't blame them. You're not going to wake up in the morning. You know how African men are. Sit with your child and say that, you know what, I can't afford this and this and this. There's so much pride in African men that they're not going to tell their children those things. Most are not going to be comfortable telling their children that I cannot get you this, I cannot, that you know you're going to school, but I had to get a loan from a friend of mine. Most parents are not comfortable talking about this. Parents are also struggling with their own mental health, with their own issues, and sometimes you can't really blame them much for not being open to their children. And there's also a gap, a huge gap between the parents and the students. Students are not being truthful to their parents. Parents are not being truthful to their children. Because a child is going to come and tell you, prom costs 500,000 fee, and the fee is like maybe 200. Then after they're going to ask you, I need a suit. The suit is, let's say, 400. Yet they can get a suit at 250. And all they are trying to do is so that they make it to the level of other students. So it is not a small thing. It's not about just prom. It's right down from how we are raised. It's how we are spoken to. And it's because there is not a relationship between parents and their children. It's not really there. We speak about it, but it's not there. If you went to an African home, please tell me. If you've been raised in an African home, how many times did your parent tell? Unless you've pissed them off, that is when you're going to know. When you've pissed off your parent is when you're going to know it. Even I'm taking you to school and you're on. I'm getting loans to take you to school and you're not even studying. You're there playing around. That is when you get to realize, hey, this is what is happening.
But sometimes they even don't remember. Anyway, Jotham, there's a lot that we're trying to pick here. And just as we try to wrap up, I want us to focus on where have we gone wrong, just put it in a nutshell, and what needs to be done. Government, parents, students, and stakeholders who own these institutions.
In regards to that, I think government, as Raymond said earlier on, government need to come up with clear policies in regulating some policies, mostly in secondary, because we don't only have proms that are being currently conducted, but we are having weekly parties under different forums. Interactive, you had interactive in your school. We had yes, a lot. Red Cross used to have parties every weekend. So these things are happening every day, but they are not.
Where you're going is now to
They are not.
that the government should control Danke in schools.
Not Danke, because
how will they have the capability?
I'm just saying, like, what happened, but where people are exaggerating the thing which happened at Elite. These are normal things that are happening in institutions, and some of them don't have even capacity to be televised on TV. But they need to see, to come up with better policies in regulating maybe proms, so that everyone can. For instance, schools that, there is an institution I know, for them, the prom money is catered into tuition, so a parent is not stressed or squeezed to pay more money. And what they decide for them, the institution can decide to organize for them a farewell party, which is very okay. No problem.
There is
Yes.
one of those top schools that doesn't have prom.
Yeah, others even cancel, but prom is very vital. And
No, they have farewell instead of prom, which is okay.
But it's the same thing.
It is the same
Just
thing.
different.
Technically
Maybe the
not.
difference- Maybe.
That is what is going to come in to help us put the perspective.
Yes. Maybe what you can say, maybe they organize for them a mass in their uniforms.
No, they have the dinner at school,
Because
your
some schools do that.
uniforms.
I know I said
You had to pull the mask out.
they put their uniform organized and give them a good buffet. At the end of the day, they say this is a farewell to you. But even other schools have prom at the end of the day, have a farewell at their institution. So government can come up with clear, good recommendations by not stopping prom fully, but good recommendations or good policy in terms of including everyone.
I think what I'm trying to say is the task should go to the Ministry of Education.
Ministry of Education.
They should sit down with
the stakeholders.
the various stakeholders, come up with clear-cut recommendations for the schools,
Yeah.
and let the children be children.
And another thing is that the stakeholders, the head teachers and the students play a big role in this. So there is always something that is where you are stakeholder engaged, stakeholder consultation and management. That sitting with students and speaking to them that this is a one-day event and we need to see. You know, it is hard. It is really hard. But these are you said the policies and regulations for your institution you want. Like the way they told you that you guys the cars are not for everyone, but they are for this one. So there are some things they can accept. There are things that, for me at my school, where they were like, no, you guys, we wanted to bring a certain artist, and the person was like, no, this is a Christian school. Among the 4 people, choose among the gospel artists who you want to come and sing for you. So these are the policies that they can come up on board with and guide the institutions to see that.
But okay, I'm thinking that those policies should be left to the schools, because the implementation by government,
they can guide.
because
They
have
can guide.
over 1,000 schools.
They can guide. They can do guidance because guidance has been there by them. Ministry
then,
has been.
then the enforcement.
The enforcement
It's
is
up
by
to
the
the
school.
schools.
Yes, it's up to the schools.
So it means the school can decide not to.
Yes.
Host.
It's just a recommendation.
Because we have few. By the way, if you see the statistics, we have few schools that do prom. By the way,
Yeah, very.
we have few schools. These are the schools
I think every school has, you know now the perspective of prom. What is prom? Prom is a leavers party. Every school in Uganda organizes some event that looks like a leavers party.
No, there is a difference between a leavers party and there is a difference between a farewell mass. Because other schools, what they do,
You know
the schools I
that
know,
even at Elite,
Eh.
the first event was church.
no, that is a church, but there is a blessing mass because other schools do what they do. If they don't have a prom for you, like the way I've told you,
So-
they would organize a service for them and
Help us
everything.
understand.
Mm.
What's the difference now? What is prom? What is givers party? What is farewell mass? Because
Farewell, it's like a dedication service.
I want
if
to
you
pick
have-
the conversation.
Yes, yes. There is if the dedication service and the farewell mass. They used to combine them together. In my O level, I never had an opportunity to attend prom. But what they did for us, we had a dedication and a farewell mass, which they organized for us. We never even had a chance to put on those bling bling suits and what.
Yeah.
So what we had to do, we woke up so early that day. You don't do anything. We had a very career day in the morning. You can do this. Then we went into a mass. Then after the mass, we had a very good buffet with all teachers around and staff giving us farewell to us. That was not prom.
That was a farewell party.
It was not a farewell party. It was a farewell.
What is it?
Farewell lunch.
Yeah, a lunch is that.
A farewell lunch.
That's not prom. That's not prom. That was not prom.
Then there is us that went to the single schools where we didn't have
But you have
prom.
shosh.
Yeah, and then there is being in a Catholic single girls school. Even boys were not allowed. So it's actually such.
Yeah, you know.
So it's a livers party. Just they take you to a resort, you have your lunch, you dance, you
but-
swim,
but
have
how-
fun.
How
go
will your
back
parent
home.
feel when they took you to a single school and they are seeing you on NBS holding boys?
But it is normal.
The
By the time,
intention was to take you to a single school.
by the time a child
Abide by those rules.
by the time a child reaches, this is what another thing that has come. I wanted to comment. By the time a child reaches A level, we believe that this person is mature.
Yeah.
They can come back on table and discuss. That's why A-Light was, I think, O level and A level. Yes, the child, the reasoning for a person in O level is very different way for a person in A level, because you are preparing. These are 2 years that are taking you to the university. So it is really easy for you to relate with your parents. By the time you are selecting schools, what and what, so your parent will be like, you know what, this is what I can afford for you, and this is best for you. So however much you want to go to those top schools, it will be, and the person cannot afford it, you will understand. And if you see most basically A-level proms, people tend to be, others tend to be simple, others tend to be high, extreme. But it's only in O-level, if you ever watch this O-level, where guys are so young, ambitious, I don't know, over watching movies, after watching series and soaps, so they want now to bring the reality, and then they fight with reality and things fail to work out for them, and they end up going into depression, and yet they have provided everything.
No,
for
but I
them.
don't think for the Gen Zs it's A-level, O-level. I feel like the entire generation. Even at university, someone wants to decorate their hostel room because they saw this on TikTok, they saw this on somewhere else. So in this generation, it is hard to separate social media and the people.
Yeah, social
So
media.
there is that social media syndrome that we can.
Yeah.
Yes.
Kalungi, you had the perspective you wanted to give.
Yeah, so the perspective of prom, reverse party, and the like. So I'll give an example of my school, which I'm so proud of, where I was for 6 years, St. Lawrence Academy Schools and Colleges. Now, prom is supposed to be like a reverse party. Now, in my school, what Jotham has said, we had a dedication mass and a dedication day where we also eat food. We eat food, we dress well, we eat chicken.
In your
Now we
uniform, in your uniform.
No, uniform is during day, then we have a dinner in the evening, a normal day dinner.
Yeah, school
Then
uniform,
after that,
yeah.
you may be a donkey. Then
Maybe for our viewers there who don't know what a dance is.
it's a dance, a school dance.
Yeah.
Children go and dance. Then, then we would have prom. Now the difference between prom and the dedication mass and the like, prom is majorly, okay, I can't say student-centered, because in our school it was student school. The school would buy the food, they give you the food, the drinks and what. Children would do the students would do the decoration and dressing themselves up. Then after that, I think it was only our year, they wanted to appreciate our class. They took all senior sixes from all campuses, again to a beach, Then we went to the beach. They brought for us artists. They brought for us Eddie Kenzo. There is this guy here. They brought Eddie Kenzo, Kabako, and King Saha. So if someone is seeing, if that was aired, someone would call that luxurious. They'll be like, oh, luxury, luxury. Do you know how much it is to bring Eddie Kenzo to an event? 20 million and above. Isn't that luxurious? Why didn't the general public comment about it? Because they didn't know it, they didn't see it. Now, this you call it luxurious because a farmer, we have even the president, whom I don't like, even the president is a farmer. He has his cows, he can sell one cow, then he has over $5,000. He says his cows are of an extreme breed. So if at all a parent can afford, even if they are farmers, can afford $1,200 to take their child in a chopper, I think we the general public should leave that. Let us leave the children. Let us not term that as luxury. Let us not blame them with our problems as a state, with our corruption. We now blame them with our corruption, our human rights abuses, our what. Because now you're bringing a child. Okay, if someone is in high school, if you're so old, you'll be 20 years. You can now blame problems that a certain government has failed to solve for over 35 years on a 20-year-old. That now, you, the children of the rich, what? You know, I think actually, the term luxurious, we should just say extreme, not luxurious. Luxurious is a big word. Luxurious, actually, if you're to go to this hotel here, Serena Hotel, you find rooms of $2,000 a night, and they are always full. Which people are filling those rooms? It is the government that you want to regulate, Proms. They're the ones that can afford to be there. And you find this organization, this ministry is organizing induction. They feed it for 1 month. The next month, this I hear Parliament is conducting a consultation. They want to pass this act. Then capacity building. I think we should focus our energy on those people that are wasting taxpayers' money. And actually, I think the biggest thing that government can do through UCC, they ban the broadcasting of students' prom because that they can do.
I disagree with that.
Yes.
Because this is an exposure. This is an exposure, and it is someone's personal right to either air. Then we should also ban weddings.
Freedom of expression.
We should ban exposure.
You see, okay, we are operating. We agree that we operate in a country that has laws, but these laws are lawless. We have bad laws, okay. Now, in our bad laws, UCC can come if at all this discussion goes to what they believe is sectarian. I don't know the metric of determining that. They can shut down this place, right? So, and we also have objectives. I don't know our national objectives. If you look in our constitution, we have something called morality. That is what they used to pass what I believe is wrong, LGBTQ Act, Anti-Homosexuality Act, you know, basing on morality. So in basing on their morality that they love so much and they wish to treasure and they wish to protect, and even the minister can give an excerpt in a newspaper on Monday, which is a full page long, they can ban broadcasting of proms to promote that agenda of theirs of morality, if at all they care so much about morals.
But this is not because kids were highly smartly dressed, if you saw that.
Yes.
So in regards, that's what I say, it is okay, it is their right. And if someone feels like I should air something, because if they fail to ban the musicians who dress, whose videos,
Jotham, I think let me interject.
So, let me
morality is subjective. If you're to go deeper into morality is not just dress code. Dress code can be a part of morality. Morality can be on how you depict yourself, on what you want the public to see of you. Morality can also be not showing off wealth. That is also morality. Morality can also be don't say certain words publicly. So I think morality is not only limited to
dress code and in terms of verbal what.
Yes.
But these kids were smart in actual sense in what they were doing.
Yeah,
that's why I was saying that it's okay for us to allow them
and
actually,
by the way, I've also
because we're having weddings.
We didn't have any child kiss.
Yeah, so
there
it
was
is
no
really
kissing,
okay for
there
them.
was no bad
and
dancing.
It's a marketing strategy for an institution. It's also branding for you. You can from there you can either be a model, you can be noted out from like last year, there is a guy who is now, I think, in collaboration with Oscar Kampala. So there are many a lot of opportunities. So the more we block such opportunities for them, trust me.
But the question is, at what expense?
That is what's going to bring you in.
At what expense?
I think you're looking at that child who
came with a chopper.
No, I'm looking at a 17-year-old, a 16-year-old having to have a luxurious car or maybe flying in a chopper. Is it really necessary?
It is for a certain, that's why I'm telling you that we are trying to make this thing look so big, or we are exaggerating this thing. Because we are talking about a prom. This is an event that happens once in a year. Once in your lifetime. The way I've told you during weddings, that someone can hire, Serena, they pay a venue of around 60 million. That's a lot of money. They pay Pink Coconut to design for them. That is around 70 million. Just for hours. 6 hours. For an event, you pay 70 million to do just a decor. So it is normal to them, so that if you use a chopper, use what you can afford in your own capacity.
So your argument is we need to agree that as human beings, we naturally crave good things. Yeah. And we need to accept
that's
people.
true.
And if
we
you
need
can
to
afford, if you can afford Javas, take yourself there. If you can afford Mama India Paul, go there. As God is trying to elevate you to another level slowly by slowly. That's what this one, my colleague talked about something that is really important, that we need to acknowledge that our classes, we need to acknowledge that our levels
but as we sum up, that issue of social stratification that we have is, okay, it's true that we can never have a perfect society, but at least we can emulate or somewhat achieve something that is perfect. Our society is greatly stratified in that the rich in this country are extremely rich, and the poor are extremely poor, and the poor are what? The majority. And that majority is looking at this life that they couldn't even dream of affording. Some of them have never taken flights. And they're seeing someone flying a chopper and they're like, they've never gone through that experience. And that is the worry. Because that affects all of us.
To remind what Henry spoke about, the anger that came from Ugandans, it wasn't really directed at the children. It was. Aside from the people that were shaming the kids, the people that were talking about corruption weren't directing it at the children. They were talking about the fact that, if you remember, even when we had the corruption discussions a while ago, and people were asking, but where does this money go? And someone says, go to schools, you'll find out.
But
children...
Again, let me first interject. By the way, children of these corrupt officials do not go to
where do they go?
Children of corrupt officials are going to go to international schools and abroad.
I was at Chitov. The child who I was telling you was saying,
they go abroad. Actually, you remember
the father, I don't want to mention.
You remember the Planned Kids saga? You remember the Planned Kids saga? Someone is like, why are you Planned Kid? And you're in Uganda. You go and search ministers. Ministers' children, those
maybe for university,
high-ranking,
for university,
maybe university, because for high school they are here.
I know
they are not here.
You go to Chitovu, you go to Namagunga.
Okay, that is the limit. If you're to go, for example,
but the business.
For example, if you're to go to, let me say, those schools you're mentioning, you find 1 or 2.
No, but
you can't find 30.
Because these are guys, this is a center.
The sample space is small.
The richer, the poor.
Let's first guide the discussion. You see, we have schools in this country that are considered elite schools.
Yes.
The so-called G8s. The so-called G8s that we know. Let's say King's College, Budo, St. Mary's College, Subi, among others. We know the so-called G8s.
Now look at the policy of King's College Budo. Have you ever watched a King's College Budo prom on any media platform?
Definitely.
Yes.
No, it is not there.
They have never aired.
I will show you.
They have never. Have you ever watched a smack thing on T-Nation or what? They have never. Yeah.
Wait.
St. Mary's College is
Yes.
Which school was the one where the girls drove the cars to the boys?
Those are Ntari and Barara.
Okay, now.
I'm going to show you all this.
Yeah.
I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you all
Have
these
you ever
videos.
seen
Because
which are the top international schools? Rainbow. Have you ever seen a rainbow prom on Teenage?
yeah. Not why? No. Why are we categorizing Teenage? We're having
I'm
youth
giving
voice.
you an
They have
example.
been.
I'm showing
But
you.
these
I'm
proms
showing
are out
you.
there.
I'm showing
These
you
proms
that-
are even on YouTube. You can watch them.
You show it to me right now.
No. I'm going to.
They are not there. They are not there.
Okay,
So
this is it. Let's just try and wrap up the conversation because
Yes.
the time is last bit.
yes.
Yeah. So Kalungi, you are trying to say, as you sum up, we shall get to Bagonza and conclude with Jotham.
Yeah, I was trying to say that I think what schools should do, like other examples of other schools, because there are schools that actually pay more money than Elite.
Yeah.
And if you're using the metric of parents that have more money take their kids to most expensive schools, we'll find out that those are the most expensive parents. So I think schools should copy their other schools that are in the Elite category, and they don't just broadcast children because it leads to those problems. Otherwise, we'd be here talking about Wudo, be here talking about SMARC, and all those other schools, but you're talking about Elite. So I think schools should put in place mechanisms that do not allow the school private business to be aired publicly. Because actually, if you look at my school, St. Lawrence, we used to have our dances, and they go like up to 12 a.m., sometimes 4 a.m., but no one made a fuss of it because they didn't know it was happening.
Now
They
they
didn't watch it on the media.
But that is
Now
not
they
healthy.
know. Now they
It
know.
was healthy.
It
It
was
was
not
very
healthy,
healthy.
so that's
We
why-
did not have any pregnancies. We did not have anyone falling sick.
Because
We
they
did not
didn't
have
follow up.
any
They
things
didn't
like
follow up.
sex, what, and because actually a school setting is a very regulated setting. In a school, if you're to have a dance, even if you're to have it at night, you'll have it with maximum lights on. You'll have it with teachers inside. So a school is a regulated environment. Let us not start imagining extreme things. There are certain individuals actually on Twitter that posted, Mbu the girl, Mbu the hair is disorganized, the what is this? It's like they were having sex in the chopper. Really? Are you seeing that? Putting it in public scrutiny. However, it was, if no one saw it, they wouldn't even comment such things.
But we live in a very fast-paced world. Yes, you will say traditional media cannot come and bring their cameras. Someone is going to have a phone, someone is going to take a video, and it's still going to end up in the public eye.
Then just say no phones on prom. On our proms, they would refuse phones. And you don't go for
How
with your
many-
phone on prom.
Don't you have photos, memory photo books?
The photos we have,
The camera
they were the
man.
photos that were taken directly by the school-sanctioned cameraman.
Still, when
So-
you're in holidays, people sit. These days, we have TikTokers that sit and they paint you a whole picture. You really cannot control. You can't control it.
But you can regulate.
Maybe it's a
You can
regulation.
regulate.
But for the perspective
That's
of,
the smart
from the
way.
perspective of mental health, let's be honest with each other. That is the beginning. Let's first be honest with each other. Parents, be honest with your children. Children, be honest with your parents. Don't lie. I know of many that have multiplied their prom fees for parents just to be able to afford the nicer stuff. Mental Health Uganda, we do our best to help with anything, and we have a toll-free helpline that is available Monday to Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. The number is 0800 21 21 21. 0800 21 21 21. If you ever feel like you want someone to talk to, please speak to someone. We all know. We know it. Some of us have been through it. And I know it that for a fact that this prom is very stressful. Prom seasons are very stressful on anybody. And if you're out there and you've had, even though you feel like, as long as you can access a phone and call, no matter the age, it's okay. You will still get someone to attend to. There are trained professionals there to help. Follow-up sessions are even available. So you will get the help at no cost at all. It's no cost. So let's reach out, let's speak out if you've had a problem. It's very fine. It's very fine to be sad about what you didn't get. It's actually normal. If you're sad about it, it's okay. Speak to someone about it and then help yourself to get over it so that it doesn't become it doesn't turn to resentment, it doesn't make you a bitter person or something else. Be mindful. To the students, please be mindful what you say to your friends, especially about how they were dressed, especially about how they look. Do not go body shaming your friends because they don't have the standard body shape that you would put them at. So please, let's be kind to each other. And then parents as well, please talk to someone. Please be honest to your children. Let them know what's going on. Be honest to yourselves as well. Seek help as well. Do not, kindly try not to project what you didn't have onto your children as well. But if you're providing the best for them, splurge on your children. It's very fine. It's very okay to splurge on them, but let it be at a regulated level.
Right.
Yes.
Thank you. You have had it from her. Definitely, you want to reach out to them. She gave you the contact, 0800-2121. Jotham, concluding remarks.
Thank you so much for hosting us in this space, and we are always delighted that we share things and topics that have transpired. And indeed, this one has been one of the most interesting topics I've shared lively without reading but sharing from my life experience without making research or what. My parting shots are, I want to encourage students outside there that be who you are. That's the first thing. Opportunities will look for you. Accept yourself. Because sometimes we keep on blaming mental health, but we are the same people who bring the mental health to ourselves. So acknowledging who you are, knowing where you come from, understanding your background, it doesn't stop you from associating and making friends, because we live in a world of connections these days. Grab those ministers and those top guys, sons, make them your friends. You never know where they can take you. But at the same time, parents, if you can afford a chopper, afford it. If you can afford a vacation, a pre-prom vacation, take your children, because you live for once. These are your children. Make them happy, give them the best for you, what you can, give them the best for you, what you can manage for them, so that they can live a happy life. For me, I don't have any issue for a parent bringing chopper, because recently when I was in Nairobi, there is a school we visited where visitation is for parents with choppers. Everywhere, they have even a landing space for choppers. So it is really normal for struggling parent to understand how it feels, but the issue goes back to the government. Should see what they can do for us, people who are struggling, to live a healthy environment.
At least they should endeavor to say to reach the middle income status.
Yeah, they should struggle. Also, maybe they can allocate for the poor child in UPE schools at Chopper.
All right,
we
thanks.
can close the discussion.
Thank you for the advocacy, and thank you for the brilliant discussion, Henry, Bridget, and Jotham. It's been wonderful having all these brilliant brains on the show. My name is Drake Onen. Thank you to the production team, Center for Constitutional Governance and Civic Space, for being in this conversation. Otherwise, it's been a very thrilling and interesting experience. I've loved